from the Energy Boutique with your Energy and Ascension forecast for Sunday, January 29th to Saturday, February 4th. So last week we had Uranus go direct here on the 22nd. And of course, that jolted us into a brand new timeline, jolted us into an accelerated timeline. And of course, it came just hours after we shifted into Aquarius season, hours after we had our new moon in Aquarius, our third new moon at a karmic degree, a clean slate, if you will. And of course, that Uranian energy definitely put a lot of pressure on our mental plane. We'll talk about that in just a second. We had Venus shift out of Aquarian energy, jumping into Pisces energy on the 26th. Go ahead, listen to that astro forecast if you haven't already. We're definitely in for a very dreamy, very imaginative, very inspiring, and semi-depressive couple of weeks while Venus kind of sorts herself out, preparing for a fresh, brand new beginning when she dives into Aries energy. Definitely going to see some relationship dynamics be impacted, good, bad, or otherwise. Again, trying to wrap up particular soul contracts in order for us to start fresh in Aries energy. And we have the last quarter moon taking place in Taurus on the 28th. So as I come to you Friday evening, we are building towards this first quarter moon. Of course, this Taurus energy just kicked in earlier today. We shifted out of that Aries energy that we've been in for the last couple of days. Definitely adding to the anxiety, the restlessness, the impulse to go ahead, to take action, to make move. But of course, we were stalled out. Don't even know where we're going. We started to see the little seeds be planted of the path that we're about to follow, but we are now in a suspended time frame. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. The first quarter moon in Taurus energy is always a point of action, always a point of decision and choice. But in this Earth energy, it's going to be a little bit of a low and slow process. Definitely feeling a little bit more of this acceleration after this weekend passes. So what do we got going on this week? Well, we are going to wrap up the final days in January, bringing a close to those particular life lessons of 1 or 11, whichever way you look at the month of January. And of course, we will be jumping into February, the second month, according to the modern day calendar, or the 12th month, according to the traditional calendar. Of course, it's going to bring us a brand new life lesson. And if we take a look at either the 2 or the 3 that this particular month will equal up to, we are definitely going to be focused on bringing new information in order to build new routines, new relationships, new foundations for us to actually move forward on. Of course, I will go into a lot more depth on what February is going to bring to us this week when the February energy forecasts and all the zodiac forecasts drop. This week, we are essentially building towards the full moon in Leo that will be taking place February 5th. So we aren't going to kind of get it included in this particular forecast, but we definitely will be moving into that full moon window towards the end of this week. And let me just say, because we are in the Aquarius and Leo cycle of the moon, of course, we just had the new moon in Aquarius, setting the tone on focusing on our future, the possibilities of it all, trying to catch a vision and a dream and really push the boundaries of our comfortability. We are going to see a little bit of a reminder, if you will, on who it is that we actually are, what makes us special, what makes us a unique individual, remind us of our story, of our soul contracts under this full moon in Leo energy. But we have a lot to work through before we get to that point. And this week, although we're not having a whole lot of, I'm going to say, major astrology, where there's planets jumping from one place to the other, we do have some, I'm going to say, notable mentions, if you will. And as I briefly touched upon, after this weekend, we're definitely going to see that forward motion in our external realms. We are kind of suspended in time at this particular moment just because we jumped into this new timeline. We have a lot going on in our mental planes, in our soul and energetic bodies. Our physical bodies haven't quite caught up yet. We're going to talk about the Ascension symptoms and why we're feeling certain ways. But basically, we have some catching up and alignment to do. Sunday, just after the first quarter moon in Taurus, we're definitely going to have a pop off of energy. A lot of that being the sun trining Mars, giving us a huge boost of power, a huge glimpse of our potential, a huge push forward. We are going to unlock new levels of boldness, of bravery, of courage, and able to actually move forward. And we're going to have that backed by some unexpected breakthroughs, some unexpected insights, some aha moments, some great grand visions being downloaded to us. That's definitely going to help us pick up the pace and get this party started. Monday is going to be super significant just because Monday is ruled over by the moon, and we have a whole moon day plan. That is the only aspects taking place is definitely involving the moon. We will be shifting from that Taurus energy to the Gemini energy, which is all about bringing the grounding point, the middle ground, the action point, the decision point that we should be sitting in this weekend, and we're bringing that into our vision, into our action, into our mental plane, into our focus. So we're definitely going to run with that. And then, like I mentioned, we will be shifting into a brand new month, middle of the week. And not that I want to get too ahead of myself here, but this brand new month, again, either vibration of 2 or vibration of 3, whichever way you're choosing to kind of align with that information of the calendar. We have the moon in Gemini energy shifting into its place of power in Cancer that day as well. Wednesday is Mercury ruled. Mercury rules over Gemini energy. We're definitely looking at the new foundations that we are going to actively be building and working upon. And of course, bringing in brand new information, brand new perspectives in order to do so is going to be the name of February's game. If you listened to the 2023 energy forecast that I put out for the whole entire year, you would know that February is going to be an interesting month. Why? Because half of it is us moving forward, us really pushing the boundaries of implementing new foundations, new elements, new cornerstone foundational keys in our lives to build upon. And half of it is the calm before the storm. Why? Because March is going to be a banger of a month. And if you don't know by now why March is going to be a banger of a month, then you're really doing yourself a disservice. Please go listen to that Astro forecast. March is going to be the most pivotal month that we practically have all year. And basically setting us up for not only the next 2-year cycle with Saturn being in Pisces, that's going to totally destroy the spiritual community, which I'm super excited about. Let's weasel out the fakes and the frauds. Let's really test our inner faith and bump up our intuition and learn to trust ourselves instead of constantly looking outside of ourselves for validation and for guidance. Super looking forward to that. But mostly Pluto is on the move, giving us a taste of what the next 20 years is going to be. It's a hugely pivotal month, not only for the collective, but for us as individuals. Definitely take a look at your chart, see where this particular energy is building up, and do yourself a favor and get ahead of the game. So yeah, the rest of the week is going to be, kind of sitting in the feels with the moon in her place of power and Cancer energy all the way up till Saturday morning. We are definitely going to have to move inward. We're going to have to retreat from the world. We're going to have to solidify the foundation of safety, security, stability in our emotional realm, really kind of put things in order in our home and our family dynamics before we get that powerful blast of energy coming from the full moon in Leo on February 5th. So, a couple of things that I would like to address as far as homework goes before I jump into the Ascension symptoms for the week. First of all, we're about to jump into a new month, which means that there's going to be a whole lot of information coming at you. New zodiac forecast coming at you. This would be a great time to jump over to Patreon, become a subscriber so that you can access all 12 zodiac forecasts for the price of one. Or, of course, you can just download them individually from my website. That is probably not the most cost-effective way to go about it. But again, the information is there. The choice is yours. This would be a great time moving into a new month to also become a Moon Guide subscriber, setting yourself up for some shadow work for the month of February, especially when we jump into Pisces season, where shadow work is the name of the game. You may want some assistance. You may want some guidance on how to go about doing that. I have a couple of, I'm going to say, announcements to make that has been brought to my attention. Let me just start off by saying that ever since Mercury went direct, I feel like I've been stuck in a lot of the Mercury retrograde aspects that I thought would have cleaned up and cleared up by now. I've had more tech issues, more cluster Fs since Mercury has gone direct than I actually had, even though it was a little bit of a shit show with Mercury being retrograde, than when Mercury was actually in his funk. Now, it has come to my attention for my Spotify listeners that none of the forecasts have been uploading to my Spotify for well over a week. And that is a bummer. I kind of had a little bit of a meltdown, a little bit of a freak out over that until I realized that I'm kind of being guided to pull away from Spotify. Now, you would say, well, geez, don't I remember you just before Christmas talking about how many listeners you have and how much maybe you should change and provide them with a little bit more support and attention and content? Yes, you would be right, until I realized that Spotify pays me nothing. And as much as I would love to be out here doing, the universal work for free, I got bills to pay. Likes do not pay those bills. And this is a good opportunity because I am a perfectionist. I have OCD, and to realize that I'm missing over a week of content on Spotify in order to play the catch-up game for my perfectionism and OCD to actually feel good about catching up and putting things back in their order, it's going to absolutely just fry the very little bit of nerves that I actually have left. So if you hopefully you're listening to me on YouTube. This is my community. This is the foundation of where everything started. This is where I'm going to continue to pour my energy into that, and Patreon, of course, for my bonus content for my VIPs. But I'm pulling out of Spotify. Not entirely. I will give a weekly rundown, just like a weather forecast, kind of give you the highs and lows of the week, what days to look out for. But if you want the tea, if you want the full story, you're going to have to come over and listen to the daily forecast. You're going to have to listen to all the content that I put out here on my YouTube channel, because I am just not going to continue to pour a lot of my time, energy, and effort that I'm running very low on at this particular point in the calendar into something that has zero return on investment. So I am super sorry to those of you that may listen to me on Spotify, but there's definitely some changes coming at Spotify. I have the bugs worked out. I know why things weren't working. It's all these freaking upgrades and algorithms to all these different platforms that are just driving me nuts. And again, I'm using this as a perfect opportunity to detour. So yes, it feels like a Mercury retrograde aspect, but I think that at the point in the calendar that we're all at, under the astrological influences that we're all at, it's about weeding out what is and is not working for you, and Spotify is not working for me. So we will see those changes take place over the next week or so as well. Starting off in February, there's no better opportunity to switch things up, to kind of wrap things up, to cut things away, than the very last chapter of this astrological calendar, preparing for a fresh, clean slate, a fresh start, moving into Aries energy in March. Also, what I wanted to kind of speak on, I did kind of address this last week. I bit off more than I can chew, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Yes, I had a little bit of a meltdown trying to realize that my voice was not supporting me, and taking on all of the bookings that I have done, had to kind of derail and reschedule a lot, which is a huge, I'm going to say, blow to my ego, because I hate not being able to do things. I hate not keeping my word. I hate having to kind of claim defeat, especially where my physical body is concerned. But I did so, had to derail some appointments, reschedule some appointments. I still have just a small handful to actually clean up before I can jump into February's, but I actually went ahead and closed my booking system. I will not be taking any more bookings until probably April. And when I open up my books for those appointments, I will definitely let you know. However, I need to really kind of just get through what it is that I've already committed to, and then I have to give my body a break. My throat, my voice is an absolute challenge for me. In and I'm not doing a very good job of taking care of myself. So I am definitely declaring semi-defeat and also semi-empowerment by saying, you know what, I realize where it is that I have to make a change, and that comes in the form of what it is that I take on. So if you already have an appointment booked with me, you will receive your session. If you are a monthly subscriber, of course, that is not going to change. I am still going to do all of my normal things. I'm just not taking anything else on because my poor head and throat is about to explode. So I want to thank you so much for your patience, for your understanding as far as that goes. And like I mentioned, when I feel up to it and I open my books for appointments once again for April, I will definitely let you know. So with that being said, let's talk about some Ascension symptoms. So like I mentioned in my personal experience, and I know very well that I'm not the only one experiencing this, there is this point of pressure where we're feeling overwhelmed, where we're feeling depleted on energy, where our spiritual faith is being tested, where there's no F's to give. It feels like we're behind. It feels like we're constantly trying to play catch up. It feels like we're suffocating under the weight of the roles and responsibilities that we have in our lives. Things are falling apart. Example, my Spotify. Example, my voice. Example, just my whole business structure seems to be taking a hit. I'm definitely being forced to have to rearrange a couple of things. And I'm not saying that it has to be the exact same in your life as well, but pay attention to where you're waking up in the morning almost with this anxiety-filled energy, where there's this existential dread, like, oh my goodness, the same Groundhog Day over with. You do all kinds of things throughout the run of the day and you go to bed feeling semi-defeated because it doesn't feel like you accomplished what you set out to accomplish. Now, there is a reason for this. First of all, we are at the very end of the calendar. Okay, so we are kind of running out of steam. If you think of the sun being born at the first day of the spring equinox, which of course is Aries season, if you think of the sun being at its most powerful point in Aries, you best believe that it's running out of steam at this particular point, as we are only, technically 2 seasons away from this new astrological calendar opening up for us, where Aries season brings us back to life again. So we feel all this pressure build up and we are physically exhausted. Now, energetically speaking, like our soul bodies, our energetic bodies, very rapid, very, very much pressurized in our mental planes, in our inner realm. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of expansion taking place in our awareness, in our consciousness, in our view, in our vision, in our dreams, but we're lacking the physical energy to keep up with that. This is a reason of why I say that we're in a suspension of time right now. We just jumped into timelines, new timelines last weekend. We felt this forward movement because of Aquarius season and the new moon in Aquarius. And of course, Uranus, who rules over the Aquarian energy going direct, definitely got us kind of kicked in a accelerated timeline. However, there are multiple timelines collapsing right now in order for new ones to actually be anchored in and initiated. And right now, as we're approaching the first quarter moon in Taurus, we need to slow down. This is a time this weekend for our physical bodies to catch up with our energetic and soul bodies. And this is why it feels like we were in a fast forward button, and then all of a sudden we went right from fast forward to pause. And this pause doesn't feel good, and it's really doing a number on our physical bodies. And, not to mention, the pressure and the overwhelming intensity that we're feeling by, wanting to move forward, not really seeing the progress that we would want. We feel like we're behind in life. We feel like we're constantly trying to catch up. Of course, all of that is a delusion because we're exactly where it is that we need to be. But the suspension in time this weekend is definitely giving us an opportunity to realign our mind, our body, our soul in order for the timeline shift to actually be anchored in and integrate. So you might say, well, how do I know what timeline I'm on? Well, you might not know for a while. There are multiple ones collapsing that we can never go back to. There are multiple ones initiating. We're all on semi-different timelines due to the vibration and frequency that we're all currently vibrating at. But one way you can tell whether or not the timeline has shifted, we talked about this briefly last week, but this week it's definitely hitting home. You can tell by your sleep state. You can tell by the dream content that you're having, because dreams have just taken a turn. This doesn't mean that you're having nightmares. This doesn't mean that, you're moving into great dreams, but the sleep state itself has been effed up, time slowed down, while this acceleration process in our consciousness and our expansion has kind of sped up. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm waking up at really weird times in the middle of the night, feeling like I slept all night. However, technically I was only asleep for like an hour and a half. Even sleeping, the broken sleep that I have been sleeping, still wake up exhausted, still wake up like I didn't rest my body at all. And the dreams that I'm having, very strange. I'm a dream walker, so I'm very aware when, timeline shift, or when the astral plane shifts, or the context of the dream becomes a little bit more cryptic. I understand. I'm very aware of all those changes. And let me just tell you, I have been in probably 3 different astral realms and 3 different timelines over the course of this past week. And I feel like it's almost like trying on timelines, trying on missions, trying on purposes. And because we're in this really weird time warp where we're trying to kind of decide where it is that we kind of fit in to this next chapter, this next journey, you can definitely tell that something has changed based off of your sleep state, based off of your dream state, the dream content. That is your evidence of a true timeline shift, a true timeline change. So over on my Patreon, we kind of talked about the times of the night and when you wake up and what that could indicate as far as the emotional and energetic blockages going on in your physical body, where the energy is having a hard time pushing through those old light codes. Definitely pay attention to the times in which you are waking up in the middle of the night and why you're waking up. Are you waking up to go to the bathroom? Are you waking up because you hear somebody call your name? Are you waking up because you're tossing and turning, you just can't get a deep sleep? Are you waking up thirsty? Are you waking up hungry? Why are you waking up? Pay attention to that, and pay attention to the time in which you are actually waking up. Now, talking about nighttime pee breaks, there's likely going to be a lot more of that coming up over this next week. A lot of this is because when we are in a sleep state, first of all, we have to hit that REM sleep phase in order to regenerate the cellular structure and tissue of our physical bodies. But when we are also in a dream state, of course, our soul is off in other places, doing other jobs, fulfilling other missions. That's where astral travel work comes in. But there's this constant need to wake up the physical body, especially to go to the bathroom, because we are spending too much time in a certain scenario and situation in a dream state or in an astral realm. And there is this need for the higher ups to send us back in our body, to wake us up, to purge out whatever it is that we're accumulating while we're sleeping. Keep in mind that your bladder is a detox tool, right? So we are kind of moving through the detox system, through all the areas of our body and all the organs in our body through our sleep state. That's why paying attention to the hours that you wake up are so important, because that's connected to a certain detoxification process in your body. But it's almost like we get so far into a new timeline or a new experience or an astral realm mission or interaction, and then suddenly we're jarred to wake up, to bring ourselves back into our present form, to detox whatever kind of goo we were able to break up or we accumulated in that very short dream state. So I do expect, especially after this weekend, when the suspension of time is kind of over and we've done the realignment with our mind, our body, our soul, and then we hit that fast forward button again, that there's going to be multiple disruptions to our sleep state in order to kind of I'm going to say ease us into these new timelines, to this new energetic vibration and frequency that we will be anchoring in long term, that we will be building upon throughout the month of February. Again, February is about new perspectives, new understandings, new information, and taking that info, that data, and rebuilding, re-strengthening, reorganizing, restructuring the foundations of our physical lives due to that. And of course, when we see changes in our physical realm, it's because the changes in our energetic realm have already taken place. They just need a little bit more time to kind of align with one another. Now, back to some of the physical symptoms, the throat chakra, which, Lord Jesus, when I seen this come up again, I was like, please, no more pressure on my throat chakra. I do apologize if my voice does seem raspier than normal. I lost my voice a couple of times this week, had to kind of spend days just quiet in order to recoup that. I'm realistically only able to kind of put about an hour into talk time before it fails me. Again, another reason why I'm so behind on my appointments. But the throat chakra is coming up time and time again. We have to take a good look, first of all, at Mercury, who is now direct in Capricorn energy, really speaking the truth, speaking a new fact, if you will. We only kind of speak on matters that are important in Capricorn energy. So if you're doing a lot of talking just for the sake of talking, you are going to notice the sore throat, the lump in the throat, the dryness in the throat, in order for you to shut the F up. Okay, like this is, trust me, I hear it from my guides almost every day. Shut the F up, they say. And I say, well, how am I supposed to shut the F up when I have basically built my whole community on, my voice, sharing messages, talking. Now, not that I want to get too much into my own personal contracts here, but I've been avoiding writing a book for like 12, 13 years now, about my personal story, about what it is that I learned in the afterlife and how we can use that to actually, go through this ascension process and, what the whole soul contract of being alive is all about. I know it's very important content. I do know that. But I, for some reason, have been super hesitant in order to write a book. And every year, pretty much every year, I go through this phase where my voice is literally not strong enough to continue to do all that I've signed up to do. And I honestly have thought over the years and continue to think that this is my guide's way of saying, okay, you need to shut the F up and maybe like learn to write. You know what I mean? Like maybe learn to communicate through word instead of using your voice all the time. So here I am in this situation yet again. I have a very important death anniversary coming up in February, so it usually happens around this time anyways, where all of the, I'm going to say, reverberatory, repressed injuries come up, full stop, from my near-death experience, in order for me to, A, realize how far I come, B, where it is that I still have some healing work to do in my physical body due to what happened to me, and C, really just give myself a little bit more of an opportunity to pull back from using my voice and be a little bit more constructive with the way that I translate the information in which I have, which obviously should be through some type of form of written word. So this throat chakra aspect is coming up for all of us. Yes, we only need to speak on things that are actually important, that actually need to be said. We are definitely going to see a sudden shift in our communication styles and the way that we're going to be expressing ourselves, the way that new ideas are coming in, how we're formulating that. But there's definitely going to be a lot of attention on that throat chakra. Hopefully it won't be painful, so do all the things that you can do to really help the throat, lozenges, elderberry. We want to spray our throat with all the good vitamins. I have a lovely spray that just opens up my throat, my vocal cords, my nasal passages, but you can only spray it a couple of times a day. And probably a good thing for that because it's quite expensive, but I'm just saying there are plenty of remedies out there to ease the physical discomfort of what these ascension and energy symptoms actually bring to us. So I talked about the pure exhaustion. This has been going on for quite some time. Again, where we're at in the astrological calendar, it's no doubt that we're just hanging on by a thread. One of the things that I want to bring up, it was very disturbing for me to see. I had a couple of people kind of tag me in it so that I seen it. There's this one creator, and I'm not naming names because there's too many false and just delusional creators out there for me to start a list. But I came across this one particular creator, and they were saying, hey, are you feeling tired lately? Do you have aches and pains? Are you feeling depressed? Are you full of anxiety? Well, you shouldn't be, because we're at the point of ascension right now that you should be feeling light and happy and fluffy. You should be filled with love and unity and joy. And if you're feeling heavy and weighted and exhausted and pain and discomfort, then there's something wrong with you. You should jump over to my channel and I'll teach you how to unlock all of the gunk that you're holding on to. Now, I'm using this as an example because, again, there's many of them out there. Hopefully, when Saturn moves into Pisces, it will just tear down all these false gurus and just kind of leave the ones that are real with no, question of being strayed off into the spiritual psychosis that is alive and well in the collective right now. But let me just tell you that there's nothing wrong with you, okay? Like I explained, I think it was last week, maybe it was the week before, I don't know, I can't keep track of time. We are all experiencing what we're experiencing due to the roles in which we are playing in building new earth. Yes, there are those people that are feeling amazing, that are light and fluffy, that are filled with love and bliss and happiness and enjoyment, and authentically speaking, not just a false spiritual bypassing, delusionment, but actually feeling that way. Yes, there is a smaller group of those people than there are the majority collective of us are feeling exhausted, are feeling the aches and pains. Why is that? Let me remind you. If you are feeling low and weighted and frustrated, and you're definitely, struggling in your physical body, it's because you are a transmuter. What does that mean? It means that you are a conduit for energy and you are tapping into the collective unconsciousness, the darkness, the pain, the trauma, the aches, the suffering, and you are bringing it in and you are allowing your conscious awareness to examine the funk, to do what you can do for yourself, for your body, to feel better, to work through your own individual problems and spit it back to the collective in a better form and a better energy. Okay, there is nothing wrong with you. You just have a different job title that requires a lot more weight as far as roles and responsibilities go. So please, if you're coming across these people, these fake creator people that are just in it for the algorithm, for the likes, for the subscribers, which honestly, I really don't care about anymore. I once was stuck on that. I once was truly offended on every single time that my numbers went down, that, censorship and all this kind of stuff, until I made peace with the fact that those that need to connect with me, that resonate with my message, they are here. Okay, we are here. I try not to get caught up in that. But there are many creators out there, yes, very false in their egos, in their guruisms, that are trying to make a whole large group of people feel like there's something wrong with them. There is nothing wrong with you. They're trying to book appointments. They're trying to capitalize on your pain, on your fear, on your lack of the strength of intuition that many people have. Again, when Saturn moves into Pisces, my goodness, I cannot wait for this whole spiritual new age crap to be totally destroyed, only leaving a very few actual, real, authentic people left. And I cannot wait for that, because the amount of pain and suffering and trauma and panic and fear and anxiety that these false gurus are creating in the collective with some of the people that actually buy into the fact that there may be something wrong with them because they're not in a total state of bliss and euphoria. Oh, let me just say, my higher self is up there in the astral realm looking for these people's higher self so that I can give them a good beat down, okay? Because they're just frustrating the F out of me. So I need you to be very awake and very aware of these people who are just trying to capitalize on the, I'm going to say, inner chaos that many people are going through this awakening process. Keep in mind, We're only in the third year of the Great Awakening. So if you were not awakened prior to 2020, like, you're still a baby in this, okay? I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just saying you're very new to this. I've had over a decade, almost 15 years of being crazy by myself, isolated, with no one to guide me, no one to validate for me what the hell I've been going through. I had to do this by myself. And so I'll be honest with you, I'm actually exhausted. I'm fed up with this job. It seems repetitive to me. It seems, monotonous to me. I actually have no want, need, or desire to continue to speak about the Ascension symptoms, or the solar flares, or the solar flash, or the blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm literally over it. I have no F's to give. However, I have a contract in place that requires me to continue to fulfill this job title, this job role, these roles and responsibilities, because there's a huge amount of people that just got awakened in 2020. And in the very first, I'm going to say 5 years of a spiritual awakening, it's the most chaotic time in the world. And with the internet now where it's at, because we weren't talking about this kind of stuff 15 years ago, right? We didn't have some of the platforms kind of, tapping into the good, the bad, the ugly of this information. You had to figure it out on your own 15 years ago. Anyways, with all this information, and most of it misinformation or disinformation, you can create a lot of spiritual psychosis out of newly awakened people just grasping on straws to anything that resonates with them, and then feed them a bunch of bullshit. And just so you're aware, this is a part of the dark force agenda. That ascension process that has people believing that they actually have to abandon their physical bodies in order to return home. Yeah, that is true, but this is why we're going to see a whole lot of suicide when Saturn moves into Pisces, because of disillusionment. In order to actually have to leave this earthly realm in order to ascend is going to hit the wrong group of people, where they actually take this literally, and they're actually going to terminate their lives. So please be aware, first of all, that you're not one of them falling into this group of just disillusionment. And just understand that, the ascension process, yes, is very real. However, it's also a part of the greater, grander plan of depopulation. Everything that we're dealing with here right now is a depopulation agenda. Okay, like when you talk about climate control and the carbon footprint, guess what? The carbon that they're trying to get rid of is you. We're made up of carbon. They're trying to eliminate the carbon, right? You're the carbon that they're trying to eliminate. When, we don't even need to talk about the pandemic. We know where the depopulation control is coming from there, where that agenda is. But the spiritual community, this new age community, is also being deceived. And that's why it's so important to trust your intuition and to start looking within yourself for answers instead of looking outside of yourself. Because my goodness, you align with the wrong person and you open your mind, your body, your soul to what it is that they have to say, and you take it as gospel, you're going to find yourself a part of the dark force agenda that has you off in yourself, thinking that you're doing a favor to the collective through the ascension process. So please be aware. And let me remind you, you are a human being. You are needed here on this physical earth, in this physical body. Okay? There are no exit points. Do not take the bait. These people have me so freaking frustrated, I can't even tell you. But anyways, I will continue on and spread my message and be as transparent as I can possibly be and rip down these false gurus whenever I get the chance, because I am absolutely terrified for some of the people out there that do not have a very strong intuition or strong faith within themselves, that get duped by these particular MFers that I just, like I said, I'm hunting them down. I don't sleep much, but when I do sleep, you best believe that I'm hunting them down in the astral realm for a really good spiritual ass kicking, and I am definitely taking names. So just be aware of what's going on here with this creator crap that hopefully will be dismantled over the next 2 years when Saturn brings in his wrath to these spiritual gurus that are taking people astray. So that was a little bit of a mini rant. But anyways, I want to talk about cramping, pain and cramps. So again, there's nothing wrong with you if you're having pain, if you're having cramps, okay? Don't let a creator tell you that you're on the wrong side of of the energy here. There's nothing wrong with you. But let me just say that there's likely going to be a lot of pain, a lot of intensity, a lot of cramping, a lot of discomfort in our lower extremities with our bowels, with our bladder. Again, think of the fragmented sleep state, the P trips that are going to become a little bit more frequent in order to keep us kind of connected to our physical bodies and not in the astral realm for very long, in order to kind of detox and defrag our physical bodies. Just pay attention to the detox process that your physical body is going through. But we're talking about the lower extremities, hip pain, sciatica might kick in, nerve pain. Keep in mind, we're in Aquarius season, ruled over by Uranus, which is the central nervous system. He gives us shocks, electricity in the air to our central nervous system, trying to break up those fragmented DNA codes that are holding on to the old ego junk that we're trying to bust through. This is the reason why we have pain, why we have cramps, why we have tremors. This is the reason of why we have to pay attention to where this is kind of coming up in our physical bodies, because it's very revealing on where the energetic work and the emotional work actually needs to be focused the most. Now, I want to talk about hunger sickness. So as you know, a very important ascension symptom that we kind of, experience pretty much all the time is our diet changes, taste bud changes, being super freaking hungry, starving all the time, or not hungry at all, nauseous, whatever the case may be. I think it was last week we talked about the fact that many of us are realizing that we need less and less food. The food that we are consuming has to be pure and has to be, of life force energy. Be very cautiously aware. I'm going to talk about meat here for a second, not because I think that everybody should be vegan. I'm certainly not vegan, but let me just talk about the meat here for a second. Now, do we really trust that they aren't injecting the meat with the Jabberwocky that many of us have refused to take, and those of us that did take it are now being overwhelmed and overloaded with some of these toxic chemicals in our physical body? Please be aware, especially where pork is concerned, okay? Pork is the dirtiest meat that I think that any of us could probably buy from a big, large production facility. I know that the egg crisis, the chicken and egg crisis is a thing. That is a divinely scripted event as well. If you are able to be in a state where you are raising your own chicken for either meat or eggs, you should definitely be doing that. If you're already doing that and finding low production in your chickens as far as how many eggs that they're laying is, please check your chicken feed. The good old government has been contaminating the chicken feed in order to reduce the amount of eggs that you're able to actually generate out of your chickens. That's why the price of eggs have skyrocketed. Again, they are trying to create another emergency crisis in our food supply. And this is just another reason and indication that we have to really pull back from, the supermarkets, the big box stores, and really start depending on our local farmers. And those local farmers, if you're out there, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. We know the struggle is real. We know that your lives are in danger every freaking day, because if you think that farmers have it easy and that they're not targeted by the bigger, greater, grander government here, then you're not seeing the whole picture either. So we really have to pay attention to the meat that we're eating, that we're consuming, because let me tell you, we knew that they were injected with a bunch of crap that we shouldn't be putting in our bodies before this, but now this is their way around trying to get everybody kind of contaminated with this Jabberwocky, okay? So please just be cautiously aware. If you are eating meat, where it is that you are getting your meat from. Go straight to the source, go straight to a local farmer, know what it is that that animal is being raised in, what it's being fed, how it is being treated in its life, because the energy of that animal gets transferred into your physical body. And the last thing that you want is not only GMO, but fear-based meat kind of being all up in your physical body. We do not want that. Now, I'm not saying to cut meat out altogether. I always get flack when I talk about how you should abandon meat. The only reason why I say you should abandon meat is because most people do not have a healthy gut, a healthy digestive system. And if you do not, and you are not seeing your, I'm going to say, detox system operate at a maximum capacity, that meat fragment is sitting rotting in your intestines, making you sick. So unless you're acting at optimal health, I would say leave meat out of it so that you're not contaminating and poisoning yourself with a slow moving, detox system. That's why I say what I say. In no way am I saying not eat meat, just be respectful. You know what I mean? Like, give thanks to the animal in which you're about to consume. And again, please make sure that what it is that you're consuming is as clean as possible. So that was another mini rant, but the whole reason why I'm talking about this is because we're going to have hunger sickness. You know that feeling you get where you think you're hungry, you think you're so freaking hungry, but you're nauseous at the same time. And therefore you don't know what you're going to eat. And then you go on this struggle to find something that you can actually stomach and eating, and you eat that, then all of a sudden you feel sick again. You may feel like your body gets slow, like your heart rate raises, like you might get dizzy right after you eat. Well, that's because your physical body is having a hard time processing the physical food. And a lot of that is because our energetic bodies have reached a vibration and frequency that is too high for our physical bodies to keep up with. Again, we're in a suspension of time this weekend, hopefully to realign the mind, the body, the soul, and be a little bit more in alignment coming out of this weekend. But the hunger sickness is going to be a very real thing. May I invite you to abandon breakfast. That is a falsehood in the food pyramid that they have you stuck in as well. Please go back to our ancestors and how it is that they ate. They used to eat one large meal with little smaller meals of, vegetables and berries in between. That is how our bodies should operate. We've been tricked. We've been duped into thinking about this food pyramid that is just garbage and just, makes us sick because, of course, sickness is their goal. Why? Because A, they get to capitalize on our sickness through hospital, pharmacare, pharmaceuticals, drugs, the whole 9 yards. And when you're no longer a paying customer and you actually die because of your sickness, they win again because they just removed a carbon footprint off of the earth. Again, the depopulation agenda is alive and well. And may I remind you, you are the carbon in which they are trying to eliminate. This week, I feel like we're going to feel, yes, we've been having a lot of head pressure, but I feel like our heads are about to get itchy scalps, a change in our hair, maybe hot spots, maybe that creepy headache worm is back, just kind of moving the tension through your headspace. Keep in mind, we have a lot going on in our headspace, a lot of light codes, a lot of downloads coming in. We are in Aquarius energy. It is visionary, so it is pushing our consciousness to another level of expansion. We're definitely feeling the intensity, the wrath of that. And I feel like some of the physical symptoms that come out of that energy change is definitely going to have our scalps drier, itchier. If you're usually on the dry side, you might take a turn into the oily side. If you're usually on the oily side, you may take a turn into the dryness, but it's going to be itchy. It's going to be an itch that we can't scratch. And you may even find, we've had this before, where there's certain spots in your head that actually are sore to the touch, where your hair hurts. And that is essentially where your, I'm going to say, crown has the opening for new information being received. So we have to pay attention to what's going on in our heads. If at any time the pressure is too much, the energy is too much, the discomfort is too much, put a hat on, preferably a black hat, preferably a toque, preferably a hat with a toque with a hood up, and you will slow down those energy codes from coming in and give yourself a little bit of a break. We are going to have a problem breathing. Now, you may listen to me all the time and say, yeah, I don't know when this girl ever breathes. That's true. I have a hard time breathing, even on a normal day. But with my voice kind of being the craps and me just pushing through and really ignoring my guides' messages to shut the F up, I keep pushing the boundaries. And my lungs hurt. Okay, my lungs hurt. We may be having an issue this week where it's hard to get a deep breath, where it feels satisfying to get that deep breath. And again, breath work is super important. Many of us are shallow breathers, so we're not bringing that energy, that chi, that mana in. We're not bringing that oxygen in. We are just seeing Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, money, move into Pisces energy, water energy. So there may be some water on the lungs, or feeling like the pressurized system on our chest makes it hard to breathe. That's our heart chakra. Venus is definitely ruler of our heart chakra. And, when you're in water, you can feel the pressure of the water on your physical body, and it may be hard to breathe. So breath work is definitely a thing. We have to control our breath a little bit better. And let me just say, like, if you're in an area like myself where it's cold as F and, the air is dry, pay attention to that. Add some moisture back in. Make sure you're having your baths. Make sure that you're really sucking in that steam in your showers. Put a pot of water on, boil that water, let that water kind of condense in your airspace. We need to add some hydration back to the game. And even if you're not in a cold ass place, we really have to be mindful of the moisture content in which we're putting into our environment, because that has a huge impact on our lungs. Speaking of the water, the last thing that I want to bring to your attention is that we could feel like we have water in our ears. Again, comes with the head pressure, comes with the light codes, comes with the expansion of our consciousness, comes with being in water elements. This is only going to increase as we move into Pisces season. We're not quite there yet, but we do have some planets moving into this Pisces energy already. This is definitely going to give us a little bit of a taste of this water-logged energy. It might even feel physically like you're running underwater, because again, we're just purely exhausted trying to catch up, quote unquote, catch up. But you might have waterlogged ears. The last thing that I'm going to throw at you is you might even have prunish-like fingers. When you're in the bath or you're in the water for a long time and then your fingers like turn all wrinkly and prunish, you might have that without even being in any water. And this is just an element. Again, we talked about how the hand chakras, palm chakras are trying to open up, get activated, come back online. This is just another sign and symptom of the electricity, the energy trying to move through our palm chakras, throughout our fingers. And just because we are in the stage of the calendar in which we're at, we could definitely see those prunish fingers take form without even having our hands dipped in water. So guys, I think that's all that I'm going to cover here for this week. Hopefully it was super helpful. Hopefully you resonated with it. Hopefully it validates some of your experiences. Just know that you're not alone. You're not cray-cray. We're all in this together. We're all on this crazy train together. And anytime that you're feeling like you're a little bit in the land of losing your mind, just come on back, take a listen to these signs and symptoms, and remind yourself that this is just part of the process. So I want to thank you so much for showing up for me, but mostly I want to thank you for showing up for yourself. We are going to wrap January up, prepare for the deep dive into February, where we're definitely going to see a lot of moving parts, a lot of new foundations emerging in our realities, just in time for then to get wackadoodled in March, when we have those major heavy hitting planets jumping into brand new energies. I hope you have a beautiful weekend, a beautiful week ahead, a beautiful closure to January, and a beautiful start to February. Again, pay attention, take note. Those energy forecasts, those zodiac forecasts are coming at you here very, very shortly. Thank you so much for tuning in. I send you nothing but love, and we'll talk to you soon.